Welcome to Computex 2025, day one. Let's find the coolest tech. Starting off with my visit at the Hype booth. They were showing off their brand new X50 case, and let me just tell you, this is probably going to become one of the best-selling cases on the market. See, they took a lot of the things that they did right with the Y60 and Y70, but made a case that almost reminded me of the NZXT Manta. They basically rounded all the corners of the case and created this very open experience because that entire front panel happens to be mesh, which means you're going to get incredible airflow to the front-mounted radiator. And speaking of that radiator mount, something cool that I noticed that they did was that radiator mount could actually move in different directions depending on how thick of a radiator you happen to have. Like one of their real thick ones that they have, the Q80s, those things are absolutely massive, so it gives you a lot more adjustability. The inside's also beautiful. They come in a bunch of different colors. They had a purple, a red, they had this really light green, they had a pink, and as well as the black and white options. And honestly, the entire thing just looked absolutely incredible. The quality of the assembly was just great. Not to mention the fact that you can get the case in either a full mesh version where the side's actually a mesh panel, or you can go with the rounded tempered glass, which I'm a huge fan of, and I just love the look of it and how well all the insides of the case just came together. Another thing that they mentioned is that every single corner inside that case is rounded on purpose, which makes building in that case that much easier. Another company that really showed up today was Fantex. I was over at the Fantex suite and I saw a couple things I wanted to mention. The first up is what I believe will be the best-selling budget case going forward for the next year, and that's the brand new Fantex G370. That's going to be an incredible case. I think it's going to come in about $59.99 and include 3 ARGB fans. And it's going to have that same great quality that Fantex is known for. They did a great job with this, I believe, about a year or two ago with their XT Pro case. That was one of my favorite budget cases, and I do have a review of that if you guys want to check that out. It looks like they took a lot of those same concepts, added some ARGB fans, also added support for eATX motherboards, and a really small form factor, which is pretty cool. And honestly, it's a great looking case for 60 bucks. Fantex was also showing off their new Matrix cases. Basically, they took their very popular XT View case, which I built in recently. I love that thing. As well as their Evolve X2, which is a beautiful case, and added basically a dot matrix display that wraps around the bottom of the case with this really cool fabric. And I think it's a really cool way to kind of customize your case while still giving you like a really clean appeal when you turn it off. It's not like when you have a screen inside of your case, the problem with those is that if it's off, it just kind of looks bad. In these cases, you could turn it off and it just looks like normal fabric, which is pretty cool. So now back over to the showroom floor. There are a couple cases I also wanted to show off to you guys. The first one is from APNX. It's their V2 model, and instead of going for the traditional O11 Vision, copycat, they innovated in a way that I think really stood out to me. First off, a couple things that they did. One is that the case supports a ton of fans. You can do a 360 millimeter radiator on the side. You have 360 millimeters of fans included on the bottom. The back has ventilation for 220 millimeter fan mounts. And because of the floating motherboard tray, which basically pushes the motherboard forward rather than just having it sit on the back of the case, they were actually able to fit another 220 millimeter fans right above and behind the motherboard, which is a really cool concept because you still get that top mounted airflow without sacrificing the aesthetic appeal of having that top glass panel. Definitely really cool, and I'm all for that case. I can't wait to get my hands on it. And then right next to APNX happened to be Haven, who's been absolutely killing it lately, and with their brand new BF360 case, this thing is super impressive. See, they basically combine aesthetics with high performance airflow. And they did a great job in doing this because what they did was they opened up the entire front of the case with open ventilation to feed 2 absolutely massive 180 millimeter fans that happen to be 52 millimeters thick. That is absolutely wild. You don't see that thick of a fan unless you're talking about a server fan. Most fans are about 20 to 25, maybe 30 for some thicker high performance fans, but that's even rare. So to see that big of a fan moving as much air as something like that in that case, along with all the great really nice features, including the quality of how everything just is toolless, I'm a huge fan of, and I just can't wait to get my hands on it. And those fans, they're gonna be able to sell them separately as well, and those ones I'm really excited for. And Deepcool got me really excited with some nostalgia because they took the Genome 2. If you don't remember that case, that was that really cool like all-in-one solution. It came with an AIO built in, had this really cool like T-virus reservoir in the middle, and then just kind of was this really cool solution that I think cost like $250. It actually made a lot of sense for a lot of people because you got the AIO and you got the case all in one, and it looked really cool. Well, they have the Genome 3 now, and this one, it's pretty sweet. Not only does it have a built-in AIO, but this time it's a 420 millimeter AIO, and it looks really, really clean. And they still have that open reservoir on the front that kind of reminisces the same kind of Genome style that they were going for with that first one. Definitely something I can't wait to get my hands on. And another case they had that's very similar in this like cooling solution is called the CL6600. That case, honestly, is probably a little more impressive in some cases. I think may sell better. It's a dual chamber case, but not in the way that you might think. They actually use the dual chamber setup where they could actually isolate the radiator of that included all-in-one liquid cooler. That's a 360 millimeter setup. That one is actually in a top chamber, and because it's in that separate chamber up top, it means that none of the air or none of the heat that's generated from your CPU is actually going to really make it to the surrounding components, which means your GPU is actually going to run at cooler temperatures because all that heat is going to be transferred up to that top compartment where the air can actually be blown through that radiator and cool that water off, bring it back down to your CPU, and basically isolate the air control. This is a much better way to go about it than just having it at the top of your case, which eventually does kind of like heat soak the rest of the case. So definitely something I'm really excited to see as well, and I really wish I could get my hands on that Deepcool product. Speaking of cooling, there's a company I've never done any work with before called Tacomas, but they had one of the coolest solutions for mounting fans that I've ever seen. See, traditionally when you have fans, you have to like screw them into your radiator. Well, these ones are a little different. They actually use a bracket on the bottom side of the fan where you can basically just lift up the fan from the side. It's secured with magnets and just separates off because there's like this little connector on the bottom of the fan that latches right onto that mount. And because they're daisy chainable, it just looks super clean and is a really easy way to like get your fans off. And let's say you need to clean your fans, that's what I was thinking about. That's gonna be really easy to basically take the fans off and clean each one individually. Because a lot of times people struggle cleaning their fans on their radiator because they don't want to unscrew them. But in this case, it would be super easy to service them. And that's what I was thinking about. Super cool. And you can actually buy these case fans by themselves. The actual full solution is called the LX800 Pro. But they also have, I believe, the FX800, which is just the fans themselves. And yeah, those things I got to pick up because I want to test those out. And if they're good, yeah, those are going to be game changing. Just found two of the craziest all-in-one liquid coolers I've ever seen. This 360 millimeter AIO has a CPU water block, but it also has a water block for your M.2 drive. I mean, I know those Gen 5 drives run hot, but that's crazy. This isn't even the craziest solution that I've seen because Team Group also has this one with their T-Force cooler. It's got 3 M.2 drives run all together to a 120 millimeter radiator. Now let's talk GPUs because there are some models and concepts that honestly blew me away, including PMY's 40th anniversary card for their RTX 5090. It's a full chrome design. The entire graphics card is chrome. So the backplate, fully chrome. The front of the actual assembly, all chrome. The actual fin stack, chromed out. And then the same thing with the heat pipes, they were chromed. And even the fan blades, all chrome. And all I could think of was, that thing's gotta be an absolute fingerprint nightmare. But it looks cool for sure, you just need gloves to basically handle it. And then MSI was really playing with some nostalgia, bringing back 2 classic GPU designs. First off, they were showing off a concept of bringing back the old twin Frozer cards. If you don't remember those were really popular maybe about 10 years ago. They were like some of the best cooler designs on the market. It was really a cool little concept to see because they basically brought it back on a 5060 Ti. Again, this is a concept. I don't know if it's gonna hit the market, but as somebody who collects GPUs, like, I'm all for it, and I thought it looked so good because they basically took the old heatsink, made it fully copper, which increased the thermal headroom, allowing you to do those modern GPUs with it. Next to it, they had something even cooler. It's called the Vortex Visual. And say it took the old Vortex cooler that was probably popular closer to like 15 years ago, which was like a flower style cooler, which is where the fan's in the middle and it kind of just goes out to the sides with the heatsink kind of going outward. And it has that single fan in the middle. Inside of that was actually a little LCD screen where you could actually put any kind of graphic that you wanted. That was the visual aspect of it. And it was fully encased in copper, which just looked so cool. And again, like as somebody who collects GPUs, I was just all for it. And I thought this thing was just incredible. Definitely some really cool products that MSI had. And from all the brands this show so far, everything I've seen, everybody's had something really cool, and I really can't wait to see all the other appointments that we have coming up for the next couple of days. So if you guys did enjoy this video, make sure you give it a like, subscribe for more content like this, and let me know what brand we should check out next, and I'll see you guys in the next one.